Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Here for another week of wrestling talk. So let's talk about wrestling, folks.
Before we talk about wrestling, Christmas has come and gone.
Yes.
And I think both of us have the same opinion of thank God.
Yes. My favorite holiday of the year is WrestleCade. That's the only one I look forward to. I'm old, so my birthdays don't matter. My kids are old, so Christmas isn't any fun. And I'm fat, and I eat too much at Thanksgiving anyway. But WrestleCade, now that's a hell of a time.
I agree, and that's why I think we like Thanksgiving so much, as opposed to Christmas, etc. But
yes,
listen, we hope you had a great Christmas. That's more important than anything. We're going to address kind of like what we did on Christmas at the end of the show. But we always want to remind you before we get started, make sure you're checking us out over at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Again, that is patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Get the show early often. Got a couple things in the works, as we keep saying, right? But somebody pitched me an idea today that will absolutely be something we run with. And that'll be the first place you see that, as well as all the show notes and the little extras we show over there. Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. I think the boys are going to like it too. It's something the boys are heavily be involved in. So,
yes. Good.
This week, we kind of, we did our Mount Rushmore episode last week. If you missed that, we appreciate all the feedback, everybody, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, sending in theirs as well. That was always fun to go through those and see. But this week we went back to the questions. The mailbag starting to fill up a little bit, so we were like, hey, plus we got a lot of year-end stuff, so it was going to be timely, so we kind of had to get to those. So the stuff that wasn't, we can push off until like the next few weeks.
It's a themed mailbag.
Right. We pulled stuff that we felt like very much had to be pretty much answered this week, next week, to kind of go from there. So, but man, hey, without further ado, let's dive right into
question number one. Gerald from Denton, Texas. What do you think are the biggest stories of 2021? This one is a good call. This one is a really good one here. So what are the biggest things that happened?
Well, we put the picture there for a reason, right? Sting back in AEW. Sting's not only in AEW, Sting wrestling in AEW. I think it's a big thing.
I didn't really see that happening on a regular basis.
Right.
And he's probably had more matches than Lesnar this year. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think he's doing great stuff with Darby. He's giving Darby the rub and kind of elevated Darby Allin along the way.
Yeah, that's always good to have that guy to help you.
Not to go on a tangent, do you think eventually Darby turns on him?
You have to. It's just the way it works. Wrestling is about turns, good and bad, seasons, and heel turns. I love wrestling but I've watched so damn much of the stuff I can usually predict it when I see it.
Well, we'll see.
He will turn on him. That may be a while. I mean, the almost AJ Styles things. I don't know why I keep trying to call him almost, but I think of Edward James almost about that thing. Yes. So that Sting being back is a huge bit of deal, especially for us old men.
Right, old time and nostalgia. I think that's kind of what he was brought in for. Is they AEW typically embraces and tries to bring in the nostalgia, which is kind of cool. So I think that's kind of why that's such a big thing. Mm-hmm. Listen, but this year ultimately, it's got to be about releases, right?
Yeah, and that's the sad part. Cleaned house at WWE. But they haven't changed anything with their programming. Have we really noticed a lot of those people were gone? Except for NXT, have you really noticed a lot of the main roster guys are gone?
The main roster stuff, no. I don't think so. It was like, over 80 wrestlers? A lot of it was people that weren't on TV a lot, NXT guys and, ladies. Mm-hmm. So, but in the grand scheme of... Oh, absolutely.
You used to have to do something, or you had to wait till after WrestleMania for people to get cut. And this has just not been that way this year. We've lost massive amounts of talent.
Well, it's a whole new philosophy,
rosters.
though. I mean, we screamed and shouted it to the hills that they were hoarding talent that wasn't getting used, and now they basically kind of went in the other route of, if AEW wants them, we're not using them, take them, kind of thing.
See, yeah, that's. I hate to say it doesn't matter to me if they're used or not, but I like to see the people I like have contracts and be able to feed their kids. To me, being on a roster and drawing a check is more important than being used properly. But then that's me as an old person who's had a salary job for some.
Okay, let's say there's 3 scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
There's having a contract and being used correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that.
Yes.
Have a contract not being used correctly. Not happy about it, but I'll take that over not having a contract and not getting used at all.
Yes.
Like, I don't want that.
I don't think that the internet would allow someone to have a contract and be used correctly. I don't think that can happen. I think that's the magical unicorn of wrestling. It's for the internet wrestling community to say he has good money and he's used right. Because nobody's ever satisfied on the internet.
No. I mean, and that's, and the crazy thing about it, though, is, it's we heap on, WWE releases and they have, and we're not happy about it, right? But they're not the only one. I'm going to come out of order here, so I'm completely going to screw you up in the notes.
But this is naturally where it would flow to.
Sure. Ring of Honor releases basically everybody. They're going to go on hiatus, come back. And here's the crazy thing, because so to me, that's one of the big stories that basically Ring of Honor is essentially done at this point right now.
Yeah, from what I can tell, it's done. I like the fact the belts are being defended on other programs.
I agree. I do like that. But I mean, I just think, all those people just flooding, out to the market is going to be bad. And I'm going to address that, believe it or not, in one of our later questions.
Yeah.
But I had a question of so Bandito wasn't at the show, so he didn't defend the Ring of Honor title.
He was wearing a mask, wasn't wearing a mask besides a wrestling mask, apparently. Wink.
But I'm like...
But does he have the title back?
He has... So basically, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, they basically got the original Ring of Honor belt, and that's the one Gresham has now.
And put it on Jay Lethal.
And they're going...
And then Gresham won it, and then Bandito has the current belt.
Correct.
Which he didn't lose.
So, at Terminus, I think Bandito's defending that belt.
Yeah, against...
Black, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But Gresham is now going to defend his Ring of Honor title on an Impact pay-per-view.
And, yeah.
So, okay, anyway... I don't think Ring of Honor is going away. So we've talked about this a little bit. So as far as kind of the big stories go, I think that, releasing everybody sucked. But I hope they don't go away completely. I hope they restructure, but
I think we've picked it down to the bones. Right now, Ring of Honor is a skeleton. Where they decide to flesh it back out again is going to be waiting to be seen.
Yeah. I mean, look, wrestling's changing, and that's kind of what,
it's wrestling. You never know what the hell is going to happen in wrestling.
I mean, NXT's revamped, right? So that was part of it with all of the releases and everything. They went with a new blood, new opportunities, so forth and so on. A lot of that old guard is gone. I know a lot of people don't like it, but again, not to go off on too much of a tangent here, but did you see Deonna Purrazzo made some positive comments about the new NXT?
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
So, I guess it's always a glass half full, half empty perspective, and I think that's kind of where a lot of people fall. Just in general in life.
Yeah.
But she made the comment of she likes the concept that a lot of new people are getting opportunities in the system. And it's basically you're going to throw them in the deep end and they're going to sink or they're going to swim. They're going to find out fast whether they can do this or not. Because here's the thing. People always think it takes it takes forever to become Bischoff always make a statement of it's 7 years before you're really ready to hit your prime kind of thing. Not saying though, you can figure it out in a year if the person has at least the basic tools to do it.
Yeah.
And her comment was more of along the lines of, look, they're going to put them out there. They're either going to succeed or they're going to fail and they're going to move on. And then somebody else is going to get a chance.
I think that was, well, at WWE, she didn't get that chance.
Right.
I don't know if I ever saw her wrestling at WWE.
Right. And
she was on that roster, and she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
Phenomenal women's wrestler.
And like, I don't think it was a damning statement in what she was saying, but essentially that people were like clogging up the top. Like Ciampa, Gargano, Cole, Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, look, there was a lot of talent at the top that weren't going. They were staying in NXT. And remember, it goes back to what we said. NXT was supposed to be developmental. Well, if it's a brand and you have all these guys at the top and they're not going anywhere, then it's not developmental anymore. It's
just like there's no, in a forest, when the trees get to the point that there's no sunlight coming through the leaves, the little trees under them can't grow.
Correct. So,
and eventually the big trees will fall down and there'll be nothing under them.
So our hopes are is that this revamp can work for what they're trying to accomplish with it. That's, I think, their big thing. But of course, with all these releases and everything that happened, we also saw things like CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, all these arrivals into AEW, which were massive for AEW.
Yes, definitely. I really think the Punk and Daniel Bryan thing, and you can look at the ratings that they helped draw. Were some of the biggest days that they got on AEW for the year was when they had their thing and those guys debuted. I would like to see guys debut and continue to do as well as those two. I don't think everybody will, and I don't think there's a job for everybody. There's not a spot on AEW for everybody, and if they keep acting like that, they're just gonna do the same thing WWE was doing.
Right.
But a couple more maybe. They brought in a bunch of great guys, I enjoyed wrestling. I really enjoyed the Undisputed Era working, So hopefully we'll see something more positive continue out of that kind of thing.
But my big thing is unfortunately for me, I don't think, anyway, it's all about needle movers, and I don't think a lot of those guys were needle movers. No. I think they're great wrestlers, and they put on some of the best matches of the year. Yeah. But, that's either here nor there. But I'm more of a,
This is the only way we'd ever see Punk again, okay?
Oh, no,
Punk wasn't going back to Vince.
Correct.
And Daniel Bryan was never going to get to wrestle the way he wanted to at WWE. Now, he'll probably be paralyzed before it's all over. But, that's what he wants.
So, but anyway, apparently they were going to let him work Japan, is what they basically said. He made it in an interview, but other big news of the year, of course, obviously, look, to me, one of the biggest stories, and people don't want to hear it probably, is Roman and Brock. Roman's run with Brock this year will essentially, in my opinion, define the legacy of Roman Reigns, like where he's going to be seen in the big picture. So that's a defining moment. But look, ultimately, at the end of the day, Myron, the big story, what? Fans returning.
Yes.
That's got to be it.
And I hope that it gets to continue. Now, I think overall crowds are down everywhere. I don't think in wrestling, I've not seen the same crowds we saw prior to this last year. What do they call it in the MCU? The glitch or the blip?
The blip, yeah.
Okay. What do we call it? The blip from now on. Prior to the blip here, I don't think we saw, like, we didn't really take these crowds. We took these. I am totally botching this, but what I'm saying, the crowds we got pre-blip, we took for granted that those what wrestling crowds were. Nowadays, we're seeing crowds. They're not the same crowds. I think they want to come back.
I think that's on all levels, by the way.
It's going to come. It's just people need to get their confidence rebuilt. There are certain people who will never go out again. We were just talking about movies and how I don't know if I'm going back to a theater. I've enjoyed the Disney releases at home. Black Widow, watched it right when it came out. Shang-Chi, I waited till it came out on Disney. Spider-Man, you went and saw it. I'm still trying to make my mind up.
Yeah. And we'll get to, some more of that movie talk here in a minute. But look, we don't want to run too long, so let's jump on into the next question, Myron. And who we got? Marcus?
We have Marcus, our friend Marcus from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Hello, Marcus. I hope things are doing well up there. What 5 talents do you think made huge leaps in 2021? Now, this is a cool question, Marcus.
Yeah. So, first one on my list, we obviously gave away the one of them, but so we're not going to get to him first. But Dante Martin in AEW was a huge. I mean, like, let's be honest. At 2020, I mean, he was part of a tag team with his brother. I mean, we're like, okay, whatever. And just a week or so ago, he's wrestling, in the Dynamite Diamond Ring finals against MJF.
Yes.
I mean.
Yes.
So, dude did phenomenal year. I think he impressed everybody to say the least. I mean, just completely
great athlete.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people want to say Hook maybe, but Hook's not on this list because he wasn't there for the whole year. So, kind of keep that in mind as well.
And Dante's smaller than what I think is the ideal size. He looks almost like a smaller John Cena. You get him a little bit of bulk, good haircut. Some merch, get that kind of stuff moving. You got potential with this kid. And he's got a long career ahead of him.
Yeah. He's super young.
I mean, how many people lost everything when their tag team partner got hurt and they sat on the shelf just because their tag partner was hurt? And this guy got to wrestle singles after his partner got hurt.
I mean, had great matches with Omega. I mean, on and on.
Omega.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
The big guy on the roster.
Held his own. I think ultimately that was the big one, is that he held his own. You could also say, look, huge leap. Let's call it what it is. Miro. I mean, Rusev had just squandered to almost nothing in WWE. And now listen, I did not enjoy the gimmick when he came over, the whole video game. I don't know what they were trying to do with him.
Stunk. And even Cornette bashed that so bad, and he was right.
But then he was a monster. He got the TNT title. Exactly. He had a bunch of title defenses, and then it went on and on and on. He had a great match with Danielson. So I think Miro, kind of resurrected his career back to where he became like he was a good monster again. So that's
good. That's good for him. That's where he should have been the whole time. I still remember that cage match. I think it was Hell in a Cell with Roman Reigns, where he used to chain on him, and I saw this viciousness. This guy that was amazing, and he went on later to be a comic character, like a cartoon character.
Yeah. Big E, of course, New Day member, just skyrocketed from, just 1/3 of the New Day, and it's crazy because we always thought he was probably the singles guy. I know Kofi had that spot, but he, Money in the Bank, then he cashes in on Lashley. He's champion. He's still, holding his place. So I think he's another big one.
Charismatic, size, talent. I don't think there's anything missing from him. I think he's probably the package for a wrestling champion.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Miss Britt Baker, she would be our next one on the list.
The only dentist I like, Britt Baker.
Think about how she was. She was a very good women's wrestler we had seen in some places.
Very talented. Very talented. I don't think she got enough exposure. They pick her, they put her on this roster, and she turns out to be a dynamite character. You look at her and Chelsea Green were a phenomenal tag team together. Okay? They both had their shots, their runs. Chelsea's starting to now hit the stride that she's capable of. But Britt just got up there, and they gave her a spot, and she just tore it down and did everything she could. Her character got her over and kept her over. And maybe Tony Schiavone absolutely being fascinated with her, if you want to use that word. That probably didn't hurt, but she's talented. And when to beat that Thunder Rosa match, I remember the dentist office match with Big Swole, and that was dog shit.
Yeah.
But that match with Thunder Rosa was the real deal. That was almost hardcore. It was brutal. I've seen some great women's wrestling this year. Camille's had some absolute phenomenal matches, but that right there is the match on everyone's mind, and the match that people think about.
We almost did a match of the year list, and that was on my list.
It has to be.
It wasn't like a women's list. I mean, literally, it was match of the year, and that was on my list. So that's how much we think of her.
T-shirt.
Yeah, and then, of course, the other one, you got to go with Bianca Belaire.
Yes.
I mean, listen, she's a athlete through and through. She does lots of things a lot of people can't do. And I think she's got the personality. I think she's got everything. I think she's got all the tools to be a big star. She had the huge moment with Sasha at WrestleMania. She got an ESPY award out of it for the moment. On and on and on. I mean, she's done tons and tons of stuff, of course. And then, of course, she was, I think, number 1 on PWI's women's list. So, I mean, it kind of goes to show you the kind of year she had. So that's why she makes my, 5th, spot on that list as well. So
definitely. I can't argue with any of that. There's a lot of people who came close, but to me, that was the top 5.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. And it's, just
speaking of that,
well, hold on.
Friends, what?
Before we move on, we want to make sure we give a little time to our friends and newest sponsors over at BetterHelp.com.
Oh, I love those guys.
Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? What interferes in your happiness? Check out BetterHelp.com/listener. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Connect in a safe and private online environment that is so convenient. You can start communicating with one in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help line. It's a professional counseling done securely online. Send a message to your counselor at any time. You'll get timely, thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly and video and phone sessions, all without ever having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional online counseling, and financial aid is even available. The service is available for clients worldwide. Find the particular expertise you need online, and don't limit yourself just to counselors located in your near area. Licensed professional counselors who are specialized in things like depression, anxiety, relationships, stress, sleeping, trauma, anger, LGBT matters, family conflicts, grief, self-esteem. Anything you share is confidential. It's convenient, it's professional, it's affordable. If you don't believe me, and you don't want to take my word, check out the testimonials posted daily on their site. Remember, it's not a crisis line. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor over at BetterHelp.com/listener. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health again. That is at BetterHelp, HELP, BetterHelp.com/listener. All right, brother. Well, wanted to make sure we get our sponsors taken care of, get those all in it, and checking them out over at BetterHelp.com/listener. But who we got next, man?
Well, here's the cool part. Following the 5 people that made the big impact, we're going to go with people that are going to make a big impact in 2022. Scott from Lowell, Massachusetts wants to know, who are 3 wrestlers you should look out for in 2022 in both WWE and AEW?
Well, we
sorry,
cheated.
Folks. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm a little slow today, Nick. I'm sorry about that.
Well, we cheated a little bit because we broke this into men and women's because it was kind of hard to jam all of them in one list, especially when the question was 3. I was like, okay, we're going to have to split this.
Well, we ran out quick. You couldn't get. I don't think you could to leverage the men and the women into this category.
No, you couldn't do both of them in the same. I mean, because look, we started. You saw the picture there, Braun Breaker. Look, here's the thing, and this is going to be a trend here in a minute with another one. We say, do I think Braun Breaker's ready to be a main event guy on Raw or SmackDown? Absolutely not. Is he going to be? Is he ready to be the top guy on NXT? Probably not. Does it matter? Absolutely not, because that's what they want. So that's probably what you're going to get.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they're going to put everything they need behind him, all the resources. The 3 guys on this list are all going to get pushed, whether you like it or not. Right. I don't think it's a bad thing. But Braun Breaker, huge athlete, Austin Theory, perfect physical specimen for wrestling. Okay. Apparently Vince likes him because he's getting the Vince rub, and nobody really gets the Vince rub unless Vince likes you. And Hook. I mean, little small for my taste in professional wrestling, but he's got the it factor, you know?
Listen, he's probably been, God knows how long he's been training with his dad, probably.
Yeah.
Who I was a huge fan of Taz back in the day.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So, but you're right. I mean, look, Austin Theory, I don't think he's a great promo. Hook, he's a little small for my taste. Braun Breaker, greener and goose shit. Are we gonna see big years out of all three of them? Probably so, because the promotions want it to be, so shall it be done. I mean, kind of thing. That's kind of how it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So again, our three men, Theory, Hook, and Breaker. Women, who you got?
This is a good one. Toxic Attraction is a faction, but I'm gonna put them together because they are just going through the roof together. I think moving Mandy Rose back, making her a mentor to them, and letting her wrestle on NXT has been a breakout. The tag team is young, talented. These are wrestlers that have been out there on the indie circuit for years. They figured it out. They know what they're doing. They're performers, and they're good at what they do. And I think it's just putting them together, giving them the gimmick that works, a gimmick that seems easy for them to do. It's irresistible.
Yeah,
just absolutely irresistible.
Mm-hmm.
And the next two are amazing physical specimens. Jade Cargill. Okay. Holy shit. Jade Cargill probably, I don't know if there's an ounce of fat on that woman's body. And she promotes the hell out of herself.
Yeah.
That woman posts pictures of herself that make herself look perfect. That woman puts herself out there. That woman shows her attitude. That woman is constantly working to make herself look better. And therefore, it just works.
Yeah, and she shares a huge, character trait to the next woman on the list, Camille.
Yes.
Who is and here's what's funny, like we're saying, like, look for somebody to have a massive, like, leap forward next year, and she's the current NWA Women's Champion.
Yes.
Look, I think she's going to be way further along in the next year, because the thing that the two of them specifically have, Jade Cargill and Camille, there's an old saying about, do you look like a star when you walk into the room?
Yes.
And both of them, that answer is absolutely. Like, there's something special about the two of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. And, when I go to work and I put on my coat, my lab coat, I look like I'm there to do my job. And when you see these two, they are taller, bigger frames, covered in muscles. They look like somebody could beat your ass.
Well, here's the thing, Myron. What I'm saying is, I don't know what they are, but they're a star.
Whatever they do, they're a star.
Like, I don't know if they're are they an athlete? Are they a wrestler? Are they a model? Are they a bodybuilder? It doesn't matter. Like, there's somebody special. Like, when they walk in the room, you can see that.
Yes.
And I think to me, that overrides a lot of things. So I think that's the women's list: Camille, Jade Cargill, and Toxic Attraction. I think that's 3 home runs for next year.
Exactly.
Just my personal opinion. But,
exactly. Yeah. But, folks, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. And we got our next friend, Thomas from Boise, Idaho. Thomas wants to know, what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions of 2021? Now, this is a tough one.
All right, I'll take this one because I know you don't like, people like hating on stuff that you say, right? Here's the thing, and there's lots of nuances, so you kind of have to pay attention to what is said. The indies are as healthy as they've ever been. I disagree with that statement. I'm not saying that they're not good. I think the indies are in a good place. I don't think they're as healthy as they've ever been. One of the issues that I see is what we talked about earlier, with all of those releases and all of that talent flooding back down. Because look, if WWE's not working them, AEW can't take them all. NWA can't use them all. Even MLW, like, a lot of them will get, like, looks, but a lot of those guys are going to have to work the indies to kind of get those paydays. And unfortunately, when those guys work an indie show, It's going to do one of two things probably. It's either going to take up some spots because their payroll, it's a chunk of payroll, or it's going to reduce payroll. There's going to be less money to go around from a budget. So that's just my personal, thing. And the other challenge that I see for indie wrestlers is WWE's looking for young athletes now. They're not looking for older, indie wrestlers who are really good. They're like, no, give us a guy who's 24. He's a stud athlete. We'll teach him how to wrestle. Look, I'm not asking for condoning the concept or the philosophy. I'm saying that is their philosophy at this point. AEW can sit there and say, like, hey, we're looking for the next wave of indie guys. Well, if they continue to sign the CM Punks and the Daniel Bryans and the, and then on and on, Adam Cole and then, Kyle O'Reilly. Like, look, it limits those spaces. Okay, they're not on TV, so you're going to be on Dark and, whatever. That's not a contract. That's like, hey, you're going to get, we're going to get looks. Getting a look on Dark, I respect it. I do. Like, I mean, obviously, I think it's a great opportunity. But I just think it's becoming limited positions when those higher talents, there's more, how about this, the more name recognized talents fill those slots up. To me, it kind of pushes down. And I think, my concern is that guys are going to be in the indies longer. Not saying that's bad.
Well, there's no Ring of Honor to go to.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal for guys.
Yeah.
Japan is still out there, but I don't know where it factors without Ring of Honor.
It's just hard to travel to Japan right now.
Oh God, yeah, with the blip and everything else, it's been crazy. Folks, I don't like what I see. If WWE is only pulling like athletes, now they're going to need wrestlers.
Sure.
They're not going to be able to just book it on this. They're not going to be able to do it just on looks, but they can just go to AEW and get those guys if they want them, or pick up somewhere else. You saw now how the television networks want WWE to sign MJF. They're not trying to get the hottest new indie talent. They see a guy on a big name program, they want him to come over. That's like professional football.
I think we're a couple years away, maybe a year or two away from starting to see the reverse, like, guys leaving AEW to go to WWE.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, why would I do that? Well, the same answer Kevin Owens gave you for staying.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's as simple as like, they're going to pay me a lot of money, so I'm going to take care of my family.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. There's,
That's the highest most I've ever thought about Kevin Owens. I've never really liked Kevin Owens, but that was an extremely mature thing, But to me, I understand Daniel Bryan loves wrestling. I also understand Daniel Bryan has at least one child and a wife. Okay. I've gotten old and not taking care of myself. And my health is causing me to not have time to spend with my family or jeopardizing the time I spend with my family. So I think Kevin Owens is probably the smarter man on that.
Could be. Never know. So, but that's, so when it comes to talents, I mean, the only thing I like to tell people right now is I had an indie guy. Look, I just said, like, look, don't ask me for lots of, like, I obviously can't help you get booked or whatever, WWE or AEW or anything like that. My thing is don't waste your time with a lot of people who can't get you signed. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of, you just got to focus on the positive, focus on the things that can affect your career and help you, go forward. But anyway, let's keep it rolling, man, before we run out of time.
Yes. Back to our outside wrestling question. Darian from the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. What movies are you guys most looking forward to in 2022? And what did you enjoy in 21? Well, there's a theme here. I see a theme running through this.
Yes. Clearly the wall behind you will give a lot of it away. And as you saw the picture there, obviously, look, one of the most anticipated movies in a long, long time is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Who's the Black Panther now?
You'll see. I'm not going to spoil it because I know you don't know yet. You dodged spoilers more than anyone.
I dodge spoilers so that for everything in life.
Yeah.
Football, wrestling. I dodge spoilers about all the movies.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Well, I unfortunately read the book, so I kind of know who it is. But that's November. It's a long way away. But we have other movies. The ones that I'm looking for, the Batman. I never thought, and this is curiosity. I never thought I'd want to see a movie that Pattinson was in, but I do want to see it just to see how they pull it off. Thor.
Yeah.
I love Thor obviously as well. And then of course, following up on Spider-Man, I obviously want to see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
that one's in May. And just for sheer nostalgia, man, if people are like, I know it's probably not going to be good, but I really want to see the Top Gun Maverick movie.
Okay. Give me some feedback on this. Is it going to be Tom Cruise?
Mm-hmm. He's coming back to train at the
to train the younger guys.
Yeah.
What about?
So I think one of them is. Remember, Goose had a kid. I think one of them is. Okay, sorry.
In my memory, folks, the amnesia has not worked out well for me.
Anyway,
but
in the original
Val
movie,
Kilmer's not in any shape to act, right?
Huh?
Val Kilmer's not able to act, right?
Oh, I haven't seen, but I'm saying I know that Goose's kid supposedly is in this one from the first one. But yeah, so just for my sake, I want to see Top Gun. That's kind of one out of sheer curiosity. Probably will be a dumpster fire. But of course, obviously, you've already brought up from 2021 the movies we enjoyed. Spider-Man: No Way Home. I have seen. You have not seen.
I'm waiting.
Here's the problem. Most people are arguing it's the greatest movie ever made. That's the problem with our society. I'll leave it like hyperbole. Like everybody.
Tony Schiavone syndrome.
It's like it's the last thing we saw, so it's the greatest thing. Yeah,
it's the greatest night in the history of our sport. The greatest movie in the history of movies. I suppose it's a really good movie from what everybody says.
Oh no, it's a very good movie. It's a great movie. But is it the greatest movie of all time? No. But that's okay. That's just one man's opinion.
What's the greatest movie of all time?
I don't get into I don't like to say the greatest of all time. Okay, I misspoke here. My favorite, you know me, I always like to say my opinion because God only knows that's all it is an opinion. You enjoyed Black Widow. You brought that up earlier.
Yes, people panned that movie, but I had a lot of fun with that. That was a lot of action. It was cool. I just enjoyed that movie. I got to see the Russian stuff that I wasn't familiar with those characters. I thought that was cool. I think the movie that was the biggest surprise for me was Suicide Squad.
My wife hated it. I loved it. I thought it was hysterical.
It was entertaining. It was funny. It was violent, a little bit of goofy. John Cena. Okay? Never seen a bad movie with John Cena in it.
Okay. I'll take your word for that one.
Well, you don't see him.
Well, that's true. If it's bad, you didn't see him to begin with, so you can't, right? Look, I saw Ghostbusters. I went and saw it with a mutual friend of ours. Really enjoyed the I think with Ghostbusters, it's one of those it could prove a lesson for how reboots can be done, where you can pay fan service to the old movies, but also progress to a new story. Halloween Kills. Look, if you're not a horror person, I get it. I love the way they tied all the way back to the first movie. I love continuity, comic books. I mean, go figure.
Yeah.
Obviously that's why I like the whole MCU stuff. And then the surprise hit of the year for me was Red Notice because it wasn't at a movie theater. I'm
looking forward to that. I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't watched anything this year really, but I'm looking forward to Red Notice because I can watch it while I'm recovering from a procedure this week. And I like the fact that Netflix is making movies. I like the fact that other people besides Hollywood in the motion picture industry, well, I know it's not technically still the motion picture industry, but it's not going out to theaters. It's coming to my house where I'm very comfortable.
Yeah.
Right here in this chair with the heating pad.
So we want to know what your favorite movies of 2021 were. What are you looking forward to the most 2022 as well? Send those to tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Email those in. I'm just curious to see what what's out there, because I'll tell you what is hot. We talk about it. Georgia Indie Wrestling. We're going to do a little Indy Talk. What a great, look, Christmas, we got up, we did our Christmas stuff, took care of the family, did all of our stuff, and then, of course, we made that trip up to Cornelia, up to the legendary.
A lot of shit for leaving on Christmas Day.
Listen, as long as you tell them ahead of time, you paid your price. And that's what I tell people. So we did.
And it's a landmark. Always good to go to Landmark.
Yeah, it's funny because so Gary was there, Gary Lamb was there, David Manners was there. It was Gary's first time, and and I'm like, listen, I get it. It's for what it is, man. It's a great building to run a wrestling show in.
Yeah,
I mean,
nostalgia.
Yeah,
the fans. It's when those fans see blood, they're like animals. Yeah. They just go nuts. I mean, it's like bing, like the hot light at Krispy Kreme. I go nuts.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a hot crowd. It was it was a bigger crowd than I imagined for Christmas night. I was really surprised. Yes. Sold out, hanging from the rafters, the whole, all that good stuff. I will tell you what most impressed me about that card.
What was that?
2 hours in and out, and they had a cage match that they had to put a cage up for.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
It was like a Rolex, man. It was just clicking. It was just.
Well, they're always well coordinated shows there. They're always like clockwork, and I understand the way that I've seen the guy that runs the shows run the shows, and those shows are like clockwork. He just kills it with that kind of stuff.
Well, but look, man, the matches accomplished everything they were.
Yes,
there was a squash match. There was a squash match, but it got that done. I didn't feel like, like, oh my God, I got gypped. I didn't get enough wrestling. I got plenty of wrestling. Everything. Yeah. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too long. It was, really well timed. And I think that's something that
I like
needs
going
to
to shows where the fans aren't tired out before the main event.
Yeah.
We go to a lot of wrestling shows where people leave before the main event because they're worn out or they got kids with them and the kids are tired.
Yep.
A show doesn't have to go on all night long.
I agree. We're as guilty as anybody, right? I always tell people
we ran the longest show
it felt like it anyway. But look, there's so much good that happened in that short 2 hours. Nick Halen gave a really solid promo, making his case for he's the best wrestler, not just in Georgia, not in the Southeast, but in wrestling. And I have said this for months now, and I mean it might have been since. God, why I keep thinking March or May. For some reason, there's an M in the front. I feel like it. That every time I see Nick Halen, he grows on me more and more and more. Yeah. Babyface, heel, doesn't matter. He gets in there. He's a smooth worker. He's a really good, solid technician. Chris, yeah.
Doesn't do too much. Doesn't do too little. He does what he has to do. Puts everything over. You get the storyline when you follow him. A lot of people can't tell a story to save their lives. They're just out there wrestling. You can tell he's going along with the program and making things work. Yeah. That's what I like about Nick Halen.
So Nick Halen is the best wrestler. We'll see over the next few months, right?
Yes.
We'll see him make his case. Speaking of programs, the program Proc the Croc, Hunter James and Scott Mason faced Joe Black and The Undeniable in a very hard-hitting, solid match. Goes to show you, old school wrestling works, folks. That's all I'm going to say. Go back out of your way and watch that match if you can.
Yes.
And it followed straight up with very solid cage match. The psychology was there. Jacob Ashworth and Hanson delivered a very good cage match without doing anything really.
They did what
stupid.
A cage match is supposed to be. You start to get out, the other guy pulls you down. The other guy gets out, the other guy pulls him down. You try to get out the door, you get stopped. You try to get out the door, somebody stops you and turns heel. Natural cage match. I love that. I think Hanson did an excellent job with the blade. Not to break kayfabe on this, folks, but
Jacob busted him. Boom! He hit that cage. He got him good. Yeah. Good. It looks like, of course, Hanson, Danny Only, and Crystal Rose are going to be, a little faction there in Anarchy, with Danny Only basically turning his back on Jacob Ashworth, slamming the cage door on his head. So you know.
And Rodney, got a kudos to Rodney, man. He can get that damn cage up quick.
Well, they had to get it down. That was the key. Yeah. So the biggest treat of the, you kind of have to separate in your brain. Wrestling, once the wrestling was over and we celebrated all that, right? It was a great show. Like I said, I'll talk about the timing. Then we got the pleasure to witness the wedding after Rick and Tristan with Gary, being, presiding over the
Gary being Gary. He carried the wedding. It was, he was amusing. The dog as the ring bearer just was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen. The perfect place for the perfect wedding. You couldn't have done that anywhere else. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I had a lot of fun. I was honored to be there.
I think that was it. It was like, many congratulations, to those, those two, hope nothing but nothing but happiness for them. But like I said, it was cool. We were honored to be just allowed to be there to witness it. So congrats, guys. It was
the only members of the press there.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Got this weekend coming up, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling, January the 1st. All your favorites will be there. The approved, and you're gonna have, of course, Palmetto Express.
I don't even really need to see the card for a Southern Fried show. I'm gonna go if I can. That's a hospital bracelet. So I got a procedure tomorrow. If I'm up to it, I'll be there on Saturday.
Yeah.
If I can crawl, I'll be there on Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to do our best to go. Look, do your best. Recoup from the night before. Because it's the first.
Oh, I'm cleaning up my act this year.
Watch some football early. Get your rest, and then head on out to Monroe on that night, Saturday night, January 1st, over at the Boys and Girls Club at 405 Community Court. Check out Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. And then we're going to go ahead and look ahead to January the 7th. We've got Southern Honor coming up January the 7th, and the Approved's going to make the trip up there again. They're actually going to get a shot at Technical Excellence's belt.
That's going to be a good match. That's going to be a good match. I have the Approved are always like in one of the best tag teams in Georgia as far as talent and psychology. I love seeing that, and we know how good Technical Excellence is.
Yeah, 110%.
Bringing in Bryce Cannon versus Gunnar Miller. Ooh.
Yeah. With everything going on with Gunnar, I really feel bad for Bryce because Gunner's got some frustrations to take out on somebody. I would not want to be Bryce Cannon, even though we're big
Leave your paddle at home, please.
Yeah, because he might use it on you.
He might use it on you.
Judas and Cyrus. Jesus. Two of the biggest monsters in Georgia. That'll be a clash.
We've seen what they can do.
Yeah.
We've seen little tidbits of what they can do at our show. This is something you need to see, folks. And the surprise match, Sal's going to Southern Honor, and he's going to face Cruel.
Yeah, he called him out last show, and it didn't really, happen. It didn't go down that way. So Cruel's going to answer the call, and he's going to face Sal Renaro at the next show. The
thing is, I'm not even sure this is going to go the way you think it would, because Sal's so good. Sal is a master of technical wrestling and lunacy at the same time.
Cruel's a monster. I mean, literally a monster. I don't wish that upon anybody. I always tell everybody, like, right now, that's the last person you want to face.
Yeah, he's been mean to people.
Of course, the main event will be AC Mack and Joe Black to face off versus Owen Knight, David Ali. New era reunion, maybe.
That's a lot to go on right there. That's a very busy tag team with a bunch of drama, and I don't know if these people are going to get along. Ooh, this is just intriguing to me. That's a very intriguing match.
Look, I think when the torch got passed and David, it looked like he paid, respect a little bit to Owen, so I think there was that. Joe and Mac seem to have kind of set some alliance on the last show. So I think they, seem to be on the same page. We'll see. But when you look at it, it's four of the best wrestlers, in the area, right? I mean, in one.
Yeah, that's a massive talent match. That right there is probably the most talent concentrated in one match.
Yeah.
that you're going to see, folks.
So definitely one you want to check out. That one, of course, all the way is January the 7th. It's the Friday following. So it's down the road a little bit. Lots of stuff going on over the next week or so. New Year's is coming up. We want you to be, take care of yourself and everything. That's kind of the big thing. But if you really want to make sure you're taken care of, make sure you subscribe somewhere. Yes. Anywhere, everywhere that we have the podcast. You can watch it, of course, the show on the book as well. Look, if there's a podcast platform, we're there. Pretty simple, cut and dry. Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Of course, that's where you get it early, often in the notes and all of the little extras I've thrown out there every week. Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Sorry, guys. Listen, we're funny. Like, I got boosted yesterday, so I'm even like a little loopy today.
I gave him the booster.
Exactly. Again, we just want to reiterate, hey, we hope you had a great holidays, Christmas, so forth, whatever you're celebrating. And then, of course, be careful this weekend going into New Year's. Make sure you're being safe more than anything. I think that's
an amateur drunk weekend, folks. These are the weekends Myron stays off the road, except going to wrestling, and that's going to be during the days, or the night, the day after. New Year's Eve, not going out. I'm going to stay here and watch football, drink some seltzer water.
Yeah. Just, drink some bottled water.
Yes.
That's kind of, and
well, it originally was, most of what I drink originally was water. That one time.
Well, I mean, that's a lot, for this week, man. You got anything else before we get out of here or anything, or?
Nope. I'm tapped out pretty much.
Well, conveniently, because what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.